Hi, welcome to Off Script. I'm Zach Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Draper.
Today on the show, we're taking a look at the new film Spiral from the Book of Saw, the Chris Rock and Samuel L. Jackson vehicle that is the 9th film in the Saw franchise. It's out in theaters right now. Nobody knows about it. There weren't a lot of people in my movie theater. There weren't a lot of people in Andy's movie theater, but we're going to tell you whether or not it's worth your time. We also take a look at Zack Snyder's Army of the Dead. The new Netflix feature is Zack Snyder's return to horror and his sequel to, 2012's Dawn of the Dead, starring Dave Bautista.
2004.
2002? 2004? Okay, I knew I was off. Starring Dave Bautista. This is a zombie romp through an apocalyptic Las Vegas. It is 2.5 hours long, and we're excited to tell you whether or not it's worth your time. Stick around for that review. We're going to look at some trailers, some things that are coming up, a couple exciting things that have been announced since we've been on hiatus for the past couple of weeks, and we're going to talk about the news. First things first, though, Andy, since we took a week off, what else have you been watching? You got any other movies you've revisited or anything? I'm curious.
Yeah, I definitely did some casual viewing. I took time to rewatch The Irishman.
Ooh. Okay, how'd that go over?
All glorious 3.5 hours.
Oh my god!
It was good to. I watched it in a couple of parts, but Scorsese he does really know how to do the gangster epic, and especially this one because it really does away with kind of glorifying the lifestyle that crime brings. Which I never thought that he was glorifying crime, but he was definitely glorifying the lifestyle of being a gangster, like the money, the tough guyness. So this is kind of all stripped away from The Irishman, and it's really great performances. And Joe Pesci especially incredibly understated. Like he does so much with just a look several times throughout the film. It's really something else. It's worth revisiting if you got the time.
Yeah, you watched it in a couple sittings, right?
Yeah.
How many did you split that up into? Because 3.5 hours. I mean, that's a hearty.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was in like 3.
Yeah,
and it was like I watched like 45 minutes one day, and then another day I watched like an hour and a half, that sort of thing.
Man, I watched something last week because we had the week off, and I can't for the life of me remember what it is. So if it comes to me during the show, I'll spring it on you. It'll be great. But otherwise, let's jump into the news. First story this week: HBO Max announces new and cheaper ad-supported subscriptions. This is interesting because I did not see HBO offering any kind of cheaper ad-supported model. I love what they're doing. I think they're one of the best offerings you can get as far as premium content goes. But apparently, they think they can do better, right? What's this about?
Yeah, so a couple of the other streaming services like Hulu, and that's the main one that comes to mind, have an ad-supported tier. And what that does is it's usually cheaper, but you have to sit through ads for the content. So with HBO Max, they're going to soon be offering a ad-supported platform, which will be $9.99 a month, which is about $5 less than what they currently charge. But there's also a big difference is that if you get the ad-supported version, it doesn't have any of the new releases, the new hybrid releases. So things like Godzilla vs. Kong or Mortal Kombat, Those Who Wish Me Dead, like the new hybrid releases that are both on HBO Max and in theaters will not be on the ad-supported version. So that's a big difference.
Personally, I've discovered if I have the option, I would rather pay extra to not watch ads than go the ad-supported route. But there's a lot of people out there that don't feel that way. I know a ton of people that have Hulu with ads, and they're just that's the way they do it. Me, I can't anymore. I spent too much time watching ads when I was a kid, but I get it. It's worth mentioning. Warner said here that HBO Max is going to have the lightest ad load among ad-supported streamers, which include Paramount Plus, Peacock, and Hulu, which means the least ads or the shortest ads out of all of them. I don't know how that's going to stack up when it actually launches. I'd be curious to see. So if you do end up signing up for the ad-supported version of HBO, write into the show, would you? Mail at offscriptfilmview.com or comment on Facebook where we stream the show live every Tuesday. And let us know whether or not it's worth your time. Andy, any chance you're going to check this out?
No, not for this, but I was thinking, maybe Hulu, because I don't watch a lot of Hulu, but every now and then there's something I want to see, and it'd be convenient to have the service. So in that case, that's something I might spring for the ad-supported version if it's something that I'm not really watching very much.
I'm a little that way with like Paramount Plus and Peacock. If it's something I'm really not going to ever get into, maybe I'd try it for a month or two, like just to see. But I like that consumers have the option, by God, it's the way it should be. Our next story, Boss Baby 2 to hit theaters and Peacock on the same day. Andy, I thought this movie already came out. This was a pre-pandemic announcement, wasn't it? Like I feel like I saw the trailer for this 8 years ago or something.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to remember exactly when things were supposed to come out because of the pandemic and everything. But yes, and what's interesting about this is that Peacock, which is I guess NBC's streaming service, is taking on this hybrid model, which we're going to see how much that sticks around as things kind of get back to normal. But yeah, they're going to release both in theaters and on their streaming service. And this comes out over the July 4th weekend. So it's a perfect kind of release. And that's what they've said. They want families to have the option to, watch at home or watch in theaters.
It's funny, man. Like when Universal pulled this with Trolls World Tour towards the beginning of the pandemic, they released I think it just went straight to streaming, right? And they said, "Hey, we're going to start putting our movies out theatrical on the same day." That was an animated film. That was aimed at kids, just like Boss Baby 2. And the CEO of AMC comes out with a hot letter the next day and he's like, "Hey, you do that and we're never going to run a Universal movie again. Unacceptable. It's not going to happen." And Universal walked it back. They took their Trolls World Tour ball and went home. They said, no, we'll keep coming to theaters. We won't do same day. Please, AMC, don't kick us out of your theaters. You're the biggest shop in town. But now NBC does this. And so far, so quiet. I mean, I know this was announced yesterday. Maybe we're still waiting for a letter from Vanity Fair or something from the CEO of AMC. But like, I haven't heard anything, and it's a little weird. I don't know if they're planning a strategy or maybe they're working in conjunction with AMC. Like, oh God, who's doing that? Warner, HBO, somebody is as the deal cut with them.
Yeah,
I don't know.
hard
I
to
feel
keep
like
it all straight.
everybody's got ideas. It's hard to keep it all straight here. How do you think this is going to go over?
I mean, this has proven to be a really big success. And the funny thing is, theaters thought that if you offer people the option to go to watch at home, they won't go to the theater, or you'll have less people in the theater. And this is actually proving kind of the opposite. When you do a hybrid release, it actually gets more people in theaters, which is really counterintuitive. But I think it just gets more people to see the movie, which I think just makes more people talk about the movie and spread and said, "Oh, I enjoyed this." And then I think it just gets more people interested in the movie, and then so more people go to both. But it's been a positive thing for theaters.
Yeah, and I mean, I think for animated films aimed at like little kids, this is a no-brainer, man. Like, what's easier, taking your kid to a theater and buying them $20 in snacks, or keeping it at home where you can just hit play 18 times and they can just watch it over and over and over again? Like, there's nothing to it. It's the reason Disney Plus has a $30 premium video on demand model for their new features, because they know this stuff works. Families love it. Good for Universal. I hope more people do this. I really do. I love going to the theater. I don't want to put them out of business, but at the same time, the consumer should have the choice, by God. That's what I think anyway. Meanwhile, Boss Baby 2 is coming out July 2nd. It will feature Alec Baldwin as the our head Boss Baby. It's going to be called Boss Baby Family Business. Oh, man. We're not going to review it on this show.
It's going to make $1 billion, you know it.
It's going to. Oh, I'm sure it will make more money than the next movie we're talking about here in our stories. Our last story this week: Spiral pushes the Saw franchise past $1 billion at the global box office. We're going to talk about Spiral in just a second, I swear. Before we get there, let's talk about how much money it's making. Spiral's actually doing okay at the box office. Believe it or not, this movie costs like $40 million to make, which, for what it's worth, and this is worth mentioning before the Saw review, is the highest budget Saw film so far, and it's the 9th one in the franchise. So we'll talk about that in a second. But what's going on, Andy? How is this thing making so much money when nobody's at the theater?
Well, it's just the franchise itself is what's crossed $1 billion. 9 films, almost 15, 16 years in the making. And according to this article from Variety, it's kind of bomb proof, it's review proof, it's critic proof, it's audience proof. Like, it doesn't score well, with audiences or with critics, but it has devoted fans, and they turn out to see it every time, and they make so much money off such small budgets. The first one famously was made for $1 million, made over $100 million in revenue. So and they all tend to be like that, and that's horror movies in general. They generally have much smaller budgets, but can be really big hits.
Yeah, I'm definitely surprised to see this is doing so well. One, I guess I'm surprised by the budget. You'd think 40 million would not get you Samuel L. Jackson and Chris Rock in a movie, but it does. It also gets you, torture effects and stuff. That's a thing in Saw movies. And for the film proper, like I said, we'll talk about it in a second, but for what it's worth, good for the Saw movies, I guess. The review proof thing does scare me, because it's a little true. These movies average like 30% on Rotten Tomatoes on a good day. and they're still cranking out tons of money. Most of the films before this one in the series were like $1 to $20 million. They're like nothing. I think the first film was under $1 million. And they just immediately turn out profit every time. There's a reason Blumhouse is making so many horror movies. This stuff really does work. It's bananas.
Yeah, I mean, horror it just has its own niche where it can be so many things, and it can be bad, because a lot of the reason you go to a horror movie is like for fun, for scares. So it doesn't have to really be the greatest movie ever.
Right. It really doesn't. In fact, I think a lot of people kind of expect this stuff to be a little cheesy and a little hokey. That's kind of part of the point. You don't have to have good drama. You don't have to have particularly good acting. You just got to have some decent scares, right? Some good editing and a director with a head on their shoulders, and boom, you got yourself a profit. Simple, small gains, but over time, you can build a studio out of it.
Right.
Anyway, congrats to the Saw franchise for clearing $1 billion of the global box office. Big accomplishment. That being said, I think it's time we jump into the movie proper. I'm going to be taking the summary on this one. The movie is Spiral. So, Spiral is the story of, he's not quite a rookie cop, but young cop Chris Rock, working down at the station that his dad used to head up, Samuel L. Jackson, back when he was police chief. Some things have been going wrong at the local cop station. Really, there's some crooked cops. It's a problem. Now, we're not in the City of Angels or New York. I don't think it says specifically where we're at. None of the Saw movies do. Fun fact, they all take place in a fictional city. But we're in a city with crooked cops, and there is a Jigsaw copycat. A killer out there, a serial killer on the loose, who's killing people in ways similar to Jigsaw from the previous 8 Saw movies. If you haven't seen any of those, a very quick explanation. Jigsaw is a serial killer who puts people in these crazy, torturous traps to try to elicit some kind of horrifying response from them to either like remove a limb or hurt themselves in order to get out of the
trap. How much blood will
you
spill to stay alive?
Yes, exactly. There's some kind of morality thing to it. Really, most people ascribe it as like essentially, light torture porn for people to watch at the movie theater. And Spiral definitely falls into that category as well. This is from the Book of Saw. The script was written by Chris Rock, and he penned it himself and sent it to Lionsgate. And they were like, "Hey, we like this." He said, "I can get Sam Jackson on board." They greenlit the movie. And now it is Chris Rock's job to run around this city and find this Jigsaw copycat before it's too late and every cop is eliminated and the riots are running rampant in the street. The movie is Spiral. Andy, what did you think of the film?
Well, before we get into that, I think I need to share my very unique viewing experience.
I absolutely think you need to share your unique viewing experience. Please do.
We probably should have actually opened with this. So I was down in Houston last week, and I went to see this on a Saturday afternoon. And so I go and I buy a $13 hot dog and I get my ticket and I go to sit down. I get about halfway through the movie, about 45 minutes in, and the picture just cuts out. And the picture cut out like right when a door closed. And so I thought it was like part of the bit. Yeah, I was like, oh, you gotta hear what's going on. But then it lasted for a couple of minutes and I was like, I think the picture just went out. Eventually someone got up and went to, try to talk to a manager. Nothing happened. Eventually like 10 minutes go by. No one's come to fix a picture and I'm just listening to the soundtrack. So to make a long story short, I eventually just left and got a refund since it wasn't it like 15 minutes had gone by and no one ever came to fix it. So, and I didn't really have time to like sit and have someone like restart it. So anyways, that was my experience. So I've only actually seen half the movie and AMC completely fumbled this bag and just, it was an advertisement of why this should have been streamed at home.
For those of you out there who don't record any podcasts, you have no idea how easy it would have been for Andy to just been like, yeah, I saw the movie. Here's what I thought off the first 45 minutes. He's honest. He's telling us what's up, and I appreciate it. You did get a refund?
I did get a refund.
All right, that rocks. It's quick note. This has been this way ever since I worked there in high school. It's AMC's policy. They can refund you within the first 30 minutes of a movie, no questions asked. After that, you have to have the movie stop or something like that to get a refund. So in case you're ever at a film and you're thinking, this isn't going the way I want it to, if you're still in that first 30-minute window, go get your money back quick. Yeah.
Well, I definitely, I had crumpled up my ticket and thrown it in like the hot dog box.
Hell yeah.
And so like, I went to get the refund and he said, okay, where's your ticket? And I was like, well, I may have thrown it away. And he was like, I really need the ticket. So then I had to go back into like this pitch black theater, hunt for like my hot dog box that I'd left. Trying to, and then I did find the ticket and I did get a refund, but it was all an adventure.
It's a good thing you didn't throw it in the trash, huh? Man,
Yeah.
that would have been. It's a good thing you left it in the theater instead of going back and throwing it in the trash like a good citizen.
Yeah,
It's
I did
funny,
throw it away on my way out.
They are supposed to keep those tickets for records, but for what it's worth, you could totally have thrown enough of a stink to get that guy to give you a refund anyway. And if you'd gone big, you could have gotten a refund on your hot dog and drink too.
Yeah.
You could have been like, nope, this whole experience has been trashed. I'm writing corporate. By God, I'm getting on Twitter right now at AMC. What
I
the
didn't
hell?
have it in me.
Yeah. Anyway,
So,
let's talk about
let's talk about Spiral. So I just saw the first 45 minutes, enough to kind of get a feel for the film. It's very kind of lighthearted in a lot of ways. It's Chris Rock, who's a famous comedian, so he has a lot of like funny bits and throwaway lines that are all digs or quips. That's mixed in with the horror of the Jigsaw killer is back and he's putting cops on trial. That's the thing, that he's going after these crooked cops, in a not so subtle things about social justice and the like. Again, you get the horror of the famous saw traps, which are horrendous, like live or die moments. How much blood would you spill to how much would you maim yourself to stay alive?
Yeah.
And we get we see it's the classic stuff. We have the Jigsaw character come up on the TV. I want to play a game. Here's this live or die, blah, blah, blah.
Make your choice. Yeah,
make your choice. Then, we also have what is a very kind of paint by numbers police procedural of like, he's the hothead cop and the boss is like, if you keep acting up, you're gonna have to turn in your badge, and no, I'm sticking you with the rook. It's so it kind of is very cliche in a lot of ways, and unfortunately I didn't get to really see where it went, but the setup is fine. Like if you're a fan of torture porn and the Saw series, you're gonna get I only got to see 2 traps before the thing cut out, so that's unfortunate, but it was everything I thought this movie would be up until that point.
Yeah, so I wish I could say there's a lot more going on in the second half of this movie. Unfortunately, there kind of isn't. And this is part of the reason I didn't give Andy too hard of a time when he told me that he didn't actually finish the movie, because like the first 45 minutes is reflective of the last 45. This movie's 90 minutes flat. I think it's like 95, just barely over with credits. So it's a tight 90. I mean, it moves fast. It's feature length, as they say. I won't say how many traps are in the movie, but I will say in the first 45 minutes, you saw less than half of the total number of traps in the film. So you saw 2. There's more than 4 there. That gives kind of a spoiler-free explanation of what's going on. And for a quick personal history with the Saw franchise, I've seen almost all of them. I really, really love the first one. I like the second one a lot. And then I think like everybody else, it kind of just diminishes from there in quality. And this movie is directed by Darren Lynn Bousman, who is the director of Saw 2, 3, and 4. After that, he did Repo, the Genetic Opera. And then following that, he has done nothing of particular interest. So it was exciting to see him back in theaters again. And I think I can ascribe some of the problems this movie has to probably his direction. But Andy, how many of the Saw films have you seen? How up to date are you?
I think I've seen 2. I've seen the first one, and then I've seen, I think, the second one, and then like bits and pieces of different ones. Yeah. It's
like the Fast and Furious franchise or Transformers. Like you just start to get lost once it's
you
like
can just jump in at any time.
Yeah. Right. They're all kind of following along the same beats. Okay, so I want to talk about what this movie does as a film, and then I want to talk about its larger implications in the Saw franchise. We'll keep it tight. I know we've been spending some time on this movie already, and we're aiming for an hour-long show this week, so hopefully we can keep it under. Andy, the first 45 minutes, let's talk about what you have seen. You've seen setting, you've seen character, you're getting an idea of pace, plot, structure, of course, and I want to start with kind of our characters, right? We've got Chris Rock in our lead as our kind of young-ish, younger. How old is Chris Rock? He's got to be like 50, right?
He's in his 50s, and he doesn't look it at all. I mean, same thing. Sam Jackson is in his like late 70s.
Coming up on 80. Sam Jackson
doesn't look it at all.
You'd never know it. Yeah, and they play that to full effect in this movie. Chris Rock is kind of this young cop who, at some point in his career, turned in a dirty cop, and all of the cops on the force don't trust him because they're like, well, you'll turn on anybody. You're basically as crooked as the guy you turned in. Meanwhile, all the other cops are half crooked anyway, which is why you have this whole Jigsaw serial killer problem running around. And you got Sam Jackson, who plays his dad, who was the police chief when he was coming up, and basically allowed a lot of this crooked stuff, and in some cases was kind of okay with doing it himself. So obviously everybody's got a little bit of blood on their hands. As far as these characters go, those are really the hot ones. You got Chris Rock, you got Sam Jackson, and that's pretty much it. Everybody else is just kind of like another cop. The department head played by Marisol Nichols. I mean, it's not a whole lot to it. So what do you think of these people we've got in this movie?
Like I said, it's just super, super cliche. Chris Rock is persona non grata. He's got a ball busting chief of police. He gets paired with a rookie cop with wife and kids, which doesn't bode too well for him, at least generally. And then you got a couple of, you got all these cops on the force who don't trust him, and they call him a rat. All these things.
I like that. Yeah, one of the cops in the force has like a scar on his face, and another one like gives him cross looks all the time. And they seem like they're supposed to be these characters who may be the Jigsaw killer. They may be the one running around doing all this stuff, but you can't really be sure,
Mm-hmm. So I mean, they're just really stock. It's nice to see a female in the chief of police role. Samuel L. Jackson is in this, of course, is the retired legendary cop and father of Chris Rock. He's, for the little bit he wasn't in it very much, but the little bit of what I did see him, he's a lot of fun. Also, I'm sure essential to the plot, and what more I know in the trailer, you see him in one of the traps. So, yeah, I mean, just really kind of stock, unfortunately, very paint by numbers on the police side.
Yeah, it seems like Chris Rock definitely had some passion here. I mean, obviously he wrote the script, and he's done some dramatic acting recently, especially in the FX show Fargo, which I hear he was very good in. I hadn't watched his season yet, but I was a little surprised to see him suddenly taking interest in, the 9th film in the Saw franchise. Really strange. Changing the title, right? Spiral instead of Saw. And then it's kind of having a copycat killer and maybe not being the real Jigsaw, and kind of being the step away, but also step into this kind of long-standing franchise. Apparently Rock's a fan. And when he penned the script, it seems like he kind of wrote his character as this, kind of on his own martyr in the police force who definitely is testing a lot of his stand-up material. It's worth mentioning is Zeke Banks, his character, has a lot of one-liners, and almost all of them fall flat, or they're like outdated references, because Chris Rock is in his 50s, and it's like I don't think the people watching Spiral are not in their 50s. It doesn't.
It's just in the wrong movie. Like he's a comedic actor writing comedy in a horror movie. And it's just like you can't have it all the time. It's just too much. It's like constantly trying to deliver one-liners, and it's like you need some comic relief, sure, but you can't just be doing like a stand-up routine. And it's just not funny enough. And if it was, it would be out of place.
And I never fell for like the illusion that he is Detective Zeke Banks. The whole film, I was like, there's Chris Rock doing his Chris Rock thing. Like, it doesn't fool anybody.
Yeah, it's hard to see anyone else.
Yeah, Sam Jackson's the same way. I started audibly laughing in my theater, like when Sam Jackson's introduced and he's sitting down, because it's like, oh my God, they couldn't even get him to stand. In this scene, he was like, I'll come to set. Yeah, I'll come to set, but by God, I better be sitting in a chair the whole time. He has a small number of scenes in the film. They're important, but there's not many of them. And it seems like they couldn't get him on set for many days. But it's a small budget movie. I'm sure they shot the whole thing tight. As far as our cast goes, there's only a couple of really notables, and otherwise it is a very small cast. But that does open some opportunities for potential, plot turns. Anybody could be this copycat killer, right? And anybody could be involved, or it could be just some stranger off the street. Who knows, right? But typically in Saw movies, they've got some kind of past. They have some kind of axe to grind. They've got some reason for all this murder. And we can't talk about that because we don't talk about spoilers. But I do want to talk about kind of our violence, right? Because that's the whole thing. We're chasing this killer, and the movie opens with a Saw trap, just like all the other Saw movies do. And from there, it's a descent into madness, a spiral, as it were.
Yeah, it's definitely super, super gory, very graphic, as the films are pretty notorious for at this point. That's part of what you go to see. I mean, that was the horrificness, and it's interesting because a lot of it, yes, it's the gore, but it's also just the traps, like the setup to the gore. Like the traps always look like horrendous. You know, the famous one is from the original when the girl has like the big helmet thing around.
Reverse bear trap. Yeah.
You know, some of those original traps are pretty gnarly, and they always kind of up the ante every film.
Yeah, and this one is clever because we don't have somebody who's supposed to be like directly Jigsaw, or in the other 8 films like a descendant of Jigsaw, you know, like this one is supposed to be a copycat in a different place, different city. This is later. John Kramer, who was the original Jigsaw, is dead and buried. Like, this is supposed to be somebody else. So the traps are a little knockoff, and that's okay because it's been a while since there was a Saw movie. They're not as good. Not all of them are as good. A couple of them are pretty grimace worthy. I was like uncomfortably squirming in my seat, but others are just kind of lame. You know, your mileage may vary. I feel like I need to turn the Saw traps up to 11. I've seen too many Saw movies. I need them to be intense, but the gore is good. I mean, it's strong. It's $40 million worth of gore. Like, it's good stuff. But
I think for a while they're
not the best designed traps. I don't think. I think I've seen better for sure.
For a while there, they got a little bit too elaborate, and that was the beauty of the kind of first film, was that they were heinous, but they were simple.
Yeah.
One thing, when did the I have no idea when we went from like Jigsaw, like the guy with the painted face, the painted spirals, to the pig face person. I'm not sure when that transition happened.
Okay, so yeah, that's another thing. Like, we don't properly get the painted face you're referring to is Billy the puppet. It's a puppet. It's on strings. It's Billy. That's its name. And that was in Saw 1. That was used by John Kramer, who was the original Jigsaw, played by Tobin Bell, to just spook people, right? He made videos with him and stuff, and so he didn't have his face on screen. And it was just this goofy little like puppet they made for the first movie. Well, it took off, naturally. The first film took off. So he kept using it more and more throughout those. But the pig face thing came from one of his assistants, I think, in the first, or maybe it was just him, who would wear like a pig's head when he would attack people in public to disguise his identity, because it was scary. You know, they were making $1 million horror movie. It's just what they had. But the imagery took off. So every like descendant of Jigsaw had to wear like a pig's head thing to like assault people essentially in public and catch them in traps.
in the Jigsaw mythos.
Right. In this movie, we don't have Billy the puppet. That's completely gone because this isn't supposed to be Jigsaw, something else. But we have a puppet that has like a pig's head on it. And we still get the pig imagery here. And then it's also in line with Dirty Cops, which I think is supposed to be a dig. Like, it's a little bit of social commentary. I think that's kind of what this movie's doing. Yeah. So that's why you don't have like the classic Jigsaw imagery in this one, which frankly, I think hurts the movie because that stuff works. Like
it's super creepy. Yeah, the voice was iconic.
Right. This is a different voice. It's a different puppet. It's a different kind of look, and that's not bad, but it's not as good. Like, it doesn't hit the peak that like the other one did. Man, that puppet is spooky like back in the day, and this one's just lame. Like, I don't know. I just felt like watching it. I was like, I'd rather be watching a better Saw movie.
By the way, if you've never seen the being roommates with Jigsaw on YouTube, is a great comedy bit. Look that up.
That is a good comedy bit, yeah, for sure. And also, I know I'm talking a lot of flack about Saw, of what's worth. The first Saw movie is genuinely good. That movie's great. That's a brilliant example of how to make a great indie horror on a budget. Anyway, let's start with the script a little bit. Like I said, this movie's a tight 90. We get more than 4 Saw traps, so those are split relatively evenly throughout the film, and for the most part, it works. But it feels like that something's missing here. I did a little looking into it after the movie, and it turned out there was a whole trap sequence they filmed with the character that they cut from the final film. And I think that hurts it, because a couple characters just kind of vanish at one point in the movie, and they never come back. And other characters have kind of little plot lines or character arcs that never really go anywhere. And it's small, but it matters. Like, you got a small cast here. There's like 8 people in the cast in this movie, and then some extras. Like, things need to kind of lead somewhere, but ultimately this story about Zeke Banks and his father and this Jigsaw killer, that kind of works, but it's just kind of deadpan. But then again, it's a Saw movie. It's not supposed to be anything outstanding, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So I wasn't particularly surprised by that. I was pleased to hear the OG Saw theme back at one point. That's nice. That actually makes a return, which is good stuff. That man, listening to Zepp's theme coming out of IMAX speakers sends me, man. It's good stuff. Otherwise, an okay Saw movie, I think. Like, I think we can do better. If they make another one, I'll go see it. I think that's probably why they'll end up making another one. But overall, okay. I think Chris Rock and Sam Jackson are the best parts of it, and it was not by any means their best performances. So I think that gives you a bar for kind of what to expect here in Spiral.
Mm-hmm.
Any other thoughts or recommendations, Andy? Based on
I'm ready.
Seen, I guess. Yeah.
I only saw half the movie, remember?
It's true. Based on what you saw, Andy, would you recommend Spiral?
I would say save it for streaming. I'm really surprised that this didn't have a hybrid release, because it's definitely the kind of thing you should watch at home. Like I said, I paid $8 for a ticket and a $13 hot dog, and then the movie cut out. So this, to me, that was an entire advertisement for the beauty of at-home streaming, because it's definitely the kind of movie that's worth watching at home, and it probably wouldn't have cut out were I there. So if you're a fan of the series, I think you'll probably appreciate it. It's got the imagery, the traps, the gore. It's police procedural, is a little paint by numbers and a little clumsy. But like I said, I think it's fine when it goes to streaming. I did see that it will be going to, I guess, Stars just in time for Halloween.
How appropriate. Yeah, I'm kind of in the same camp. You can wait for streaming on this one. I like seeing Saw movies in a theater, but it's hard to get your friends around to go to a movie theater right now. And even if you can pull it off, it's just out of season. Typically, Saw movies were always released in October. They had that great tagline, if it's Halloween, it must be Saw, which makes no sense, but that was what it was. And every October, I remember seeing, at least back when I was working in the movies, literally the same groups of people coming in every Halloween to watch the new Saw movie. I don't know why they dumped this to a summer release. I think they panicked and thought it was going to do poorly. I think it either should have gone to streaming or it should have come out in October. I think it would have done way better. And it was a big marketing flub to push it out now. It's too early after the pandemic. People aren't really there yet. Not doing any favors. So if you're going to watch this, if you're a Saw fan, I think you'll like it. I'd probably say it's top 5 Saw movies for sure, but it's definitely not top 3, I don't think. And if you're not a Saw fan, go watch Saw 1. Like if you want to know what Saw's about, just go watch the first one, then watch the second one. And if you're still interested, you could probably jump into this. I think that'll probably be the best place to go. So that's Spiral. Man, what a weird movie. I was really looking forward to this one, and it didn't quite. I like Saw movies, man. I do.
Summer release, you know?
Yeah.
By the way, I did remember the other movie I watched over our break here was Those Who Wish Me Dead, the Angelina Jolie firefighter thing. With Taylor Sheridan. It was solidly mediocre. You could probably skip it.
If we're a
quick review.
But we might do a full review at some point. I'll be honest, I'm not that interested in watching it, so I'm glad Andy took the plunge. But if we come around to it on a slow week, we might check it out. Also, Andy, I discovered today. You remember that movie that was nominated for a bunch of Oscars, The Father with Anthony Hopkins?
Yes.
$6 on Amazon right now.
Finally, jeez.
It was 20 before now. For anybody who wanted to know why we hadn't watched it on the show, I was like, I cannot justify a $20 rental at home. Like, there's
now
way.
It's running into the summer movie season. We got plenty of other stuff to watch now.
It's true. They can wait. By God, yeah, that's what they get for pricing their stuff too high. Anyway, next up, Andy, you want to announce what we're doing in this segment?
It's time for the trailer park. So we're going to be talking about a few trailers just came out this week, hot off the presses. We got some hot things, things we're really looking forward to. The first one is The Eternals, or just Eternals, which is one of Marvel's new Phase 4 projects. This is going to be a big franchise, star-studded cast. Let me just read off this cast list, starring Angelina Jolie, Salma Hayek, Gemma Chan, Richard Madden, Kit Harington, both of whom were from Game of Thrones, Camille Nanjiani, Brian Tyree Henry, and Barry Keoghan. So this is a huge cast. It's like 9 people. All really big names. A first time for a lot of these people to be in the MCU. Big names like Angelina Jolie and Selma Hayek. Gemma Chan was actually already. I don't know how they're going to deal with it, but she played one of the Skrulls in Captain Marvel. Maybe the heavy makeup covers her. Anyways, the story. Right. We just saw a teaser. The Eternals are this kind of immortal family who oversee civilization through time and kind of help civilizations thrive, but they get involved, but they don't get too involved. The trailer doesn't really reveal a lot. It shows us a lot of our characters, a lot of really cool special effects, a lot of really great costumes. Everyone looks like gorgeous and beautiful, and they have these like really royal looking costumes. It looks really cool, a lot of great effects, but we don't really get much on plot. But I'm kind of anxious to see when what that's going to look like, and that's going to be out November 5th. Zach, what do you think?
So this was a really cool teaser because it's like 2 minutes long, 2 minutes and change, and it gives you no indication of what the central conflict of the film is, which is good. It's what a teaser should do, right? Gives you a tease of the tone, a little bit of structure, maybe. You got to look at the characters. That's kind of it, and that's what this teaser does. I'm interested. I'm a little skeptical of going into kind of Marvel Phase 4 or where we're at now. I was, big fan of the OG Avengers, man. It's going to be tough to kind of come around on this, but you've got a star-studded cast. You've clearly got some passion put into it. I think people are a little skeptical of what this is going to be, whether or not these are supposed to be like Avengers 2.0 or what this like pre-assembled Eternals team is. I think it looks strong. I want to see more, want to see a full trailer. This is a good teaser, though. So if you haven't seen it, go and check out the teaser for Eternals. Next up, yeah.
Well, I just wanted to mention, one thing Marvel has done a really great job of that DC has not done is introduced, kind of second and third tier properties and really propel them forward. Guardians of the Galaxy is the best example of that. No one knew who that property was. Everyone thought that might be, Marvel's first bomb of a film, and it was a massive hit. And now everyone knows who the Guardians of the Galaxy are. And so I think they'll end up doing the same way with the Eternals, that we will all come to know who they are, become very familiar. They'll become kind of household names. Marvel's very good at that. DC has not been super good at that.
DC is not good at that.
And honestly, their comics are the same way. Like, if they didn't have Batman, I don't know what they would do, because they cannot bring other properties to the forefront too well.
Yeah, I'm not sure what they do either. And a big part of that's star power. I mean, you have so many names like that command attention all in one movie. People are going to turn heads, right? People at the water cooler talking. So,
yeah.
The next film we are talking about, I'm excited to tell you about this one. The trailer is for Edgar Wright's Last Night in Soho. I don't know a lot about the plot for this, so I'm going to read it right off IMDb. Take a page right out of them. A young girl passionate about fashion design is mysteriously able to enter the 1960s, where she encounters her idol, a dazzling wannabe singer. But 1960s London is not what it seems, and time seems to fall apart with shady consequences. The movie is written by Edgar Wright and directed by him. Edgar previously has done films such as Shaun of the Dead, Hot Fuzz, World's End, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World, and Baby Driver most recently. And now, this is his first step into full-on horror, what he ascribes to be his favorite genre of movies. It stars Anya Taylor-Joy and Matt Smith. And what is the main woman? Thomasin McKenzie, who was in, I'm not sure what she was in, but a bunch of other people. I'm excited to talk about it. Andy, what do you think of the trailer for Last Night in Soho?
This looks great. I had no idea what to really expect from this. I just knew that Edgar Wright was doing a horror movie. And this just looks like something completely different. It reminds me a little bit of Midnight in Paris. I saw someone mention, which is a Woody Allen film where Adrian Brody, at midnight, he goes back in time to like the 1920s in Paris. And then during the day, he's back in present time, gets inspired by historical figures. So it's a little bit of that where, you're kind of going between timelines. But the trailer starts off really fun and promising. And then it slowly turns dark and very clearly ends up in the horror place. So I don't really know, again, what we're going to get, what it's going to be about, what the tone of the whole thing. Edgar Wright's really known for his comedy, so we'll kind of see. But it looks great. It looks like nothing I've really seen before, and I'm always excited about Edgar Wright.
Me too. Bathed in neon, lots of red and blue in this, and it just looks like good stuff. So I'm excited to watch it. Funny thing, while we're talking about things people said about this movie on the internet, I was laughing at somebody's comment earlier today. They watched the trailer and they said Anya Taylor-Joy is it's like a cheat code for cinematographers.
Yeah, I mean,
You just throw her on screen, and you're like, looks great. Yep, perfect. Got that shot. Next scene, please. So yeah.
Totally.
Anyway, what's the last one?
The final trailer we're going to be looking at is called Gunpowder Milkshake. And this is a new all-female action film coming this summer, July 14th. It stars Karen Gillan as a assassin who, from the trailer, it looks like she meets a group of other female assassins. And in a very John Wick style turn of events, she goes from being, assassin number one to being persona non grata and being a contract put out on her, and so all the assassins come after her and these other lovely ladies, which is a really big cast. All have to fight them off. This cast includes Karen Gillan, Carla Gugino, Lena Headey of Game of Thrones fame, Angela Bassett, Paul Giamatti, not a woman, Michelle Yeoh. Those are the big names, and the action looks really awesome. It reminds me a little bit of like Kill Bill, John Wick style. Really over the top, lots of gunplay, lots of shooting and martial arts. And it's really cool to see this kind of movie and it be all women, because it seems like it's taken a long time for something like that to happen. But it looks like a lot of fun. It looks like, again, like a mixture of action scenes we've kind of seen before. Anyways, what do you think, Zach?
So I'm excited about this movie, mainly because it looks really stylized. Watching the trailer of all movies, I thought of the movie Wanted, which was a movie that flew under a lot of people's radar, but again, was very stylized. Like, it had a really specific direction and style and tone to it, and it stands out. Like, there's a lot of action thrillers that come out, I think, in a year, and doing something that really makes it stand out visually, adding slow motion, kind of doing things to make it jump at you, really makes a difference. And seeing Karen Gillan in a role, I want to say Jillian every time, but there's no extra I, it's just Gillan. And seeing her in a role that she's not like covered in makeup in is good stuff, because like I think it really gives her the opportunity to kind of flex her chops on screen. She's great in Guardians of the Galaxy, but like that's really only seeing one part of her.
Yeah.
Like, it's nice to be able to see her with her hair up doing action shit, for a change. Like, that's cool. And to follow that up to see everybody in the supporting cast who's involved in this movie is good stuff. I love Lena Headey. I love the way the action looks. I love that it looks like it has a tone and a structure. I like that it's a new director. I haven't seen anything from that. He's from Israel originally, so excuse me if I mispronounce this. His name is Nevat Papashado, I think. Papshusha, something like that. And previously, he's in a movie called Big Bad Wolves, which came out in Israel that was a big hit. And otherwise, I've seen nothing from him. If this works, he's going to make a Marvel movie. Just wait. Like, if this takes off, some big company will scoop him up to make a mainline franchise film. So I'm looking forward to Gunpowder Milkshake. It looks like good stuff.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of fun.
Yeah, it does. And it stars the little girl from that new Dave Bautista movie. The spy, I don't remember.
Yeah,
I don't remember.
Something.
I should have come correct before I just dropped that in. Anyway, Andy, what's the last movie we're doing on the show?
Army of the Dead. So this is Zack Snyder's, again, return to the zombie genre. Originally, he made a big impression with 2004 remake Dawn of the Dead, where he introduced the fast, athletic zombie, who were a real nuisance when we were used to slow, moving, crawling zombies. This is out on Netflix and stars Dave Bautista. In this setting, Las Vegas has become overrun with the undead and has been cleared, and there's a big quarantine set up around the city made up of these big shipping containers. And in a very American fashion, the government is soon going to nuke Las Vegas to rid the world of all these zombies. In the midst of that, rich millionaire comes to Dave Bautista, who's a Medal of Freedom Army veteran, says, "Hey, there's $200 million underneath Las Vegas in one of the vaults. It's still there. You can have $50 million if you can get it out. If you can put a team together, split it however you want, get in, get the money, get out. Opportunity of a lifetime. Can't turn down." So of course he can't. So of course he can't turn it down. Puts together a team. They go into Las Vegas, which is abandoned except for the zombies, and try and find this money. It's a bit of a heist film. You know, you got to put together the team. You need a weapons expert, a security guy, a safe cracker, someone to fly the helicopter, all those things, plus a number of zombie tropes to go in there. I have a lot of issues with this movie that we can get into, but Zach, what'd you think?
So, Army of the Dead is a bit misleading. It looks like this movie is going to be a action-fueled, bloody zombie romp with guns and explosions through a post-apocalyptic Las Vegas with a literal army of the dead. So many dead people, it's like an army, right? Versus like 15 beefcakes led by Dave Bautista. Directed by Zack Snyder. How can you go wrong? Dude, you can totally go wrong. There is no cool army. You're barely in Vegas. You don't get that much shooting. There's not that much action. And it's so paint by numbers, like it doesn't do anything new or different. It's too long. It's boring. It's gray. The whole movie's out of focus. I got problems with Army of the Dead, man. And it's not all bad. It's really not. There are things that work in this movie. But like, dude, I got to start looking twice next time I see a Zack Snyder movie and whether or not this is going to be a good feature. Like, really, I thought this was going to be his breakaway from big budget box office studios, right? He doesn't have Warner Brothers with their foot on his neck. He can do what he wants. He can make anything. And he makes Army of the Dead. Like, dude, I'm disappointed in Zack Snyder. Let's talk about Army of the Dead because it's not that bad. I haven't heard that many people being bad about it, but what did you think? I mean,
man,
it's something, man.
It's none of the things that it should be or is advertised to be. Somehow you have a zombie action movie and it is so boring. Yeah. Oh my God. Nothing happens for it. There is not an action. The first real action scene doesn't happen for 70 minutes. I timed it.
Yeah.
Like there's kind of an opening scene, a little bit of action. The credits actually have a lot of the backstory. The credits are actually really, really good. The opening credits. And then nothing happens for like an hour. They don't get to Vegas for the whole first hour because there's all this like backstory and family drama they're trying to set up. And it's just like, no one cares. So you don't even get to Vegas for the first hour. There's just very little action. And again, you expect them to be like running through the streets and like dodging the dead left and right. They're slowly, methodically crawling through the city. The zombie, and then there's a weird thing about the zombies have evolved and they're like smart and they kind of have a society now. And there's a zombie king and queen who are kind of in charge. And like it kind of throws a lot of zombie rules out the window. And that's fine if you want to introduce some new ideas, but everything they do is just really boring. And there's just not a whole lot of like zombie chases, which is like what we're here for. And it's just so slow. It's unbelievably slow.
Yes.
You know, you could easily cut an hour out of this movie easily.
Yeah. I think the problems fundamentally start with the bad script, right? It was written and directed by, it was written by Zack Snyder. Yeah, I probably had a hand, somebody else kind of helping him. It was written, directed by him. And also worth mentioning, he's the cinematographer on this movie. He literally held the camera for every shot. He shot it himself. He shot it on red cameras, red Monstros, and he used vintage Canon lenses to get this really thin field of focus. So your actor's face will be in focus, but everything behind them is straight blurred background. Always. It is so blurry behind them, you can't see anything. And it's like, we're supposed to be in too. Yeah, we're supposed to be in Las Vegas. We're supposed to be, in this place. There's supposed to be zombies around. It's supposed to be this bombed out apocalypse. It's just blur. Like you can sometimes see stuff back there, but it's a really specific choice. And I think that sets the precedent for the rest of the movie. Snyder was like, I'm doing what I want here. And fundamentally, somebody should have stopped him or reined him in. Letting this guy loose with the budget to do whatever he wants, like it's not a hit. So let's talk about like the movie proper and what's going on in it. First off, like you said, the pacing. We don't even get to Vegas for the first hour, which in a heist movie, that's okay. You don't start the heist right away, right? Like you got to build your team. You got to get your crew together. You got to have some big money maker who's explaining the whole thing, right? How are we going to do all this? You got to plan it. But this movie doesn't do a very good job of that.
Yeah, it reminded me, or it made me think of Inception, which is a really great heist film. There are five, team members in Inception. In this, they throw together like 12 people, none of whom I can name, and I can't really tell why they're all there. They're just like, oh yeah, you want to make $1 million? Like, oh yeah, oh well, we need this guy too, and it's just like, so you have like a squad of like 12, 13 people going in, and you can't really keep track of who is who or what they're all supposed to be doing, or why they're all there, and it makes it just narratively difficult. Also, it just adds a bunch of fat to the film because you have to do like an intro of this person and go into do a recruiting scene with them.
Yeah, so normally this movie draws a lot of inspiration from different properties, right? Definitely Dawn of the Dead, certainly Zack Snyder's vision of that, but also Aliens, because you're like the movie Aliens, and with our colonial marines going into this alien infested colony, like you've got our big strapping warriors going into a zombie infested colony. So it shares a lot of similarities with that, but at least in Aliens, James Cameron knew, hey, we're going to have a bunch of just nobodies who are going to get iced by aliens before we get down to kind of our main crew. Zack Snyder doesn't have that luxury. You're supposed to be building a heist crew. So everybody in there should matter, but they totally don't. Like 6 of them kind of matter. And even then, only a few of them are actual actors who you will know and have heard of. Everybody else is a no-name who hasn't really done anything particularly large. You got Dave Bautista in the lead as Scott Ward, Ella Purnell as his daughter, Kate Ward. Omari Hardwick plays a kind of a sidekick for him. We got Matthias Schweighofer.
I don't know who any of those people are aside from Dave Bautista.
Right, but so funny story. Matthias is a big deal in Germany. He's a very successful German actor, and he's kind of a unique safecracker. Tig Notaro as the helicopter pilot, who was only in the movie because originally that role went to Chris D'Elia, but after all the sexual assault stuff came out, they were like, hey, you're out, and they green screened in Tig Notaro for the whole feature, which is why she's barely in the picture. Otherwise, nobody. Hiroyuki Sanada is the guy who pays them to go in and do this whole heist. Otherwise, nobody. And even then, I'll bet you only knew maybe 4 of those names. And that's like, those are the hits. This is like a crew of like 15 people, like, and none of them are anybody who we would know. There's a couple of outstanding performances. If they're in there, it's from the people I mentioned. Otherwise, it's just a bunch of nobodies, and you treat them like that, right? They go when they finally get into the city, you just expect like, okay, well, they're going to get iced. They're not going to stick around, and it makes it feel like there's no real stakes. There's no real tension because you just know this probably isn't going to go their way, and that's not a great way to get to the heist when you get an hour into the movie and your audience is already lost and disappointed.
Yeah, I mean, in any zombie movie that not everyone's going to make it, but it's a question of who is and who isn't. And you're exactly right. There's so many people there's also no danger. There's no danger. There's no tension. There's nothing. And again, you're not going to care if heist member 9 dies because you don't know why they were there in the first place.
Right. Like, and again, like I get in the larger scenario, you expect people to die, but like when you don't give any weight to most of your characters on screen, then you don't get anywhere. And that's just in the writing. That's where that fundamentally falls apart. We've got a strained relationship between Scott Ward and his daughter, Kate Ward. The two of them are at odds. One of them is a former kind of bounty hunter, headhunter, army guy, Dave Bautista. The other is a refugee helping wonderful young lady played by Ella Purnell. And the two of them are kind of oppose ideologically. One of them is like, well, I got to go into the city and make this money so I can give you and your mom a happy life. And the other one's like, we should not be going into the city. This is a big mistake. But once you get into the city proper, the zombies are okay. They have evolved, like Andy said. We've got some alpha zombies that are like smart and can arguably reproduce, which is funny story. Along with the Chris D'Elia thing that they cut because of the sexual harassment, turns out there was supposed to be like a whole subplot with zombie reproduction that they just totally wrote out because when they ran this in front of test audiences were like, please God, no, we do not reproducing zombies. We don't need it. Zombies have a way to reproduce. They bite people and then that person turns into a zombie. That's the game. We don't need like a zombie economy here, but this tries to run towards that. It kind of doesn't work though, because ultimately we don't get that much time with zombies on screen. There's not that many zombies in this movie. There's like a couple decent zombie shootouts. That's kind of it. really, there's not that many. And the alpha zombies are kind of cool, I guess, but I'd say like rage virus zombies from the 28 Days Later series are much more interesting.
Yeah,
Boring zombies. You got boring zombies in this movie.
Yeah, how did that happen? And not only that, like they're smart, but they also like know kung fu. Like they like there's several parts where they're like dodging punches and like knives and gunfire, you know, doing like crazy parkour. It's like, you know, this is a big leap from fast zombies to martial arts wielding zombies. And it's just you know, it's ridiculous, and it just doesn't help it. It doesn't add to the tension. It doesn't make them scarier. The whole like zombie king, zombie leader thing is like zombie society as a whole is ridiculous and uninteresting. Also, and I have a real problem with this. I'm gonna die on this hill. So there's a zombie tiger, which is seen in the trailer. But I feel like that's just really redundant because like a normal tiger will just like hunt you down and eat you. So like a zombie tiger like isn't really any more of a threat because they're just gonna do the same thing.
If anything, it would have been impressive if you had a completely standard tiger running around the zombie world and people are like, where the hell did that come from? And everybody else is like, I don't know. Somehow it survived. Like that would be interesting. Zombie tiger?
Like zombie exotic animals are just redundant because that exotic animal will maul you anyways.
Right. It's the same.
It's the same danger. So it kind of doesn't make any sense. But yeah, the zombies are they're really boring. They're not interesting. They're smart, but not in any kind of interesting ways. And you know, soon that they're going to have their own economy and philosophy and elections soon if this is left unchecked. It's really uninteresting and just doesn't add to any of the tension or action.
I got another one for you. Poor setting. This is supposed to take place in Las Vegas. We should see the strip or what like the bombed out strip looks like, right? You don't get any of that. Las Vegas basically looks like a desert. There's a few crumbling buildings. There's a bunch of trashed cars that our characters are slowly working their way through in, again, full 4K blur because Zack Snyder was like, I'm using these vintage Canon lenses and it's going to look dope. So you never really get to get a good look at the background. But once you get to our fictional hotel, the Olympus, because they're not going to pay for licensing to use, you know, Caesar's Palace or MGM, right? Nothing fancy. Once you get to our fictional hotel, you're in the hotel pretty much the rest of the film. And then the plan is in the heist that the safe is at the bottom of the hotel, and then on top of the hotel, there's a helicopter. You get a helicopter pilot who's played by Tig Notaro. They fly you out of the city. So it's one way in, one way out. So once you get to the hotel, there's not a whole lot of Vegas left. You get one shootout in a casino. Otherwise, they're in like dark hallways. They're down by the safe in the basement. Like, that's it. It's like, where's the setting? We're in Las Vegas.
It could have been a middle school anywhere.
Right, exactly. Like, where's the flash and the glam and the glitz? You get a couple of like zombies that look like they're dressed in goofy costumes. You get a showgirl zombie. That's neat. But like, you know, look at the poster for God's sake. If you watch this on Facebook, you can see it. Like it's flashy and colorful and neon, and like none of that is in this movie. In fact, once again, Zack Snyder has returned to a washed out, desaturated color palette. It's gray and murky and brown and like it's sandy. And it's just like, this looks gross. Like there's no fun color or excitement to this. And I think back to 2004's Dawn of the Dead when he was just getting into this stuff. Completely different approach. Completely different. That was a shopping mall and it was more colorful than this. I mean, my God.
Yeah. And I was thinking back, the opening credits are actually really cool. There's a lot of action and kind of backstory that happens there. But I was like, that really should have just been the opening scene. Like the backstory could have all been like normal action. Of course, it's all slow motion because that's what he does. So that's actually kind of it's a good part of the movie, but actually should have probably been a different part of it.
Yeah. And also worth mentioning, the opening credits are very, very cheaply made. I swear to God, it looks like Zack Snyder literally made them himself. It's terrible. There's no. I'm gonna nitpick here for a second. They don't even use like a drop shadow. It's like just photoshopped onto each frame. Like, boom, here's a lame font in pink. There's your front. Like, I feel like Snyder has tried to approach this like, oh, this is a little pet project I shot in my free time. And it's like, it's a 2.5 hour feature. There were theatrical cuts of Lord of the Rings that were shorter, bro. And the pacing's a big problem too. I mean, we already talked about the long intro, but it is agony to get through. I mean, it's not all boring, but like you just keep thinking, where's the army of the dead? Where's the shooting? Like, where's the exciting stuff? And it's barely in there. I mean, it's got to be maybe 10% of the film, maybe, is like actual action. Otherwise, 90% of it is people just standing around in rooms talking. It's like, come on. You got Dave Bautista, you got a bunch of throwaway actors and actresses. Give him some blanks and let him shoot a little while. Let's get some action going.
I did want to point out there was a standout scene that I did want to talk about.
Please.
Mainly because there's a little bit of a music nerd moment. So our safe cracker, Dieter, who's stereotypically German, when he meets the safe, it's like a work of art. He's like, this is one of the greatest safes ever, and I'm going to be the one to crack it. And there's this whole like, this is very appropriate. All of a sudden, you get this big opera background soundtrack, which is from the Ring Cycle, which is like one of the 4 operas that Wagner wrote. One of which I think is Siegfried, which I think the music is from. So this big operatic moments when they get to the safe, and that stuff is actually really good. And it's a really good use of that music, and it's appropriate because it's Wagner, and he's German, so it's a very German part of the film, and that's actually one of the scenes I liked.
Yeah, the German safecracker is one of those characters that's got a little bit of characterization to them. He sees cracking the safe as like an art, like it's something he's been working his whole life to be a part of, and this safe is one of a kind. There's never been one made like in the world. Like, that sounds interesting on its face, but ultimately they give the guy like a pistol because he's not any kind of combatant. They don't train him or anything. And he's wearing like a t-shirt and he's just like following him around with his little gun. And like, that's kind of his role throughout the film. Like, he doesn't really get to do a whole lot more. And that's what's so frustrating. You'd think with all this screen time, you'd have much more interesting plots and engagements and characters, but you just don't. They're just kind of flat and kind of bland. I got a couple other fun things I want to say about it before we jump to recommendations. Andy, any other big thoughts before I jump in with just some goofy facts about this movie?
Go ahead.
So there's a couple things people have noticed in this film that are worth mentioning before we wrap our review. Number one, if you're watching this film in 4K on a 4K screen, streaming in 4K on Netflix, you'll notice this film features dead pixels right in the middle of the movie. Apparently, a lot of the safe cracking scenes were shot with a camera that had a dead pixel or a couple of dead pixels in it. If you watch this in HD, you won't see it. If you watch it in 4K, you will. People are on the internet like, how did Zack Snyder not see this? There's white pixels in the middle of the frame. Like, it's small, but you can Google it and go check it out. I didn't see that in my screening, but doing some research later, that's when I found it. Number two, I noticed some things in the film that don't make any sense, that are never resolved. And I looked it up. These are real things. In the opening of the film, when we have kind of our initial zombie outbreak kind of thing, at one point in the sky behind a bunch of soldiers, you see 2 UFOs. They fly away, never come back, never mentioned again. Why are there UFOs in this movie? Additionally, at one point, Dave Bautista shoots a zombie and it has a robot face. Never mentioned why there's a robot zombie.
I saw a couple of I don't think.
I think there's more than one. I saw one for sure, but I Googled it later and people were like, why are there robot zombies in this movie? And there's no explanation.
I don't think it was supposed to be a robot. I think it was supposed to just be like, I don't know, their blood is blue or something. I think it was an effect thing, and it ends up looking
maybe
like some sort of Terminator zombie.
The one I recall distinctly, it looked like he shot it in the face and part of its face peeled off, and it had like a blue metal Terminator-like skeleton under its. Like, I was just like baffled, and I went and looked up later, and people were like, yeah, what's with the robot zombies? No explanation. There was an actor that was replaced in this film. There were subplots that were cut out in editing, and it still manages to be too long. You know, at the beginning of this review, I said there's things in here worth talking about. There's things in here that might be worth watching. Now I'm not so sure. Andy, you ready for recommendations?
I am.
Andy, would you recommend Army of the Dead?
I'm going to say hard pass with a few caveats. If you're a big fan of the zombie genre and you want to see what this is all about, you might check it out. I would definitely skip like the first hour. Like, watch the opening scene and the credits, and then just skip to like the 70-minute mark, because like they're trying to, they're trying to actually, again, Inception, they're trying to set up some sort of emotional baggage between Dave Bautista and his daughter, and a couple of other, and it's just like, we don't care. It's like Godzilla vs. Kong. We just want to see the monsters fight. We don't care about any of the characters. Like, we don't need them to have like backgrounds or sad this or that. Just give them some personality and go. Like, we don't need all this, and it just drags on so long. There's all these subplots with like someone trying to sneak across the border, these girls in this refugee camp, ulterior motives of different people on the team, and it's just like it adds so much. So because of all that, I would skip like the first hour. This legitimately, you won't be lost, and then watch like the last 90 minutes, and then skip it if that's too much for you.
Yeah, so I'm in a similar boat. Pass. I mean, unless you're a Snyder stan, man, unless you're here for whatever Snyder does and you love his creative vision, sure. I mean, if you're a monstrous zombie fan, go for it. I still think you'll be disappointed. If you're like the biggest zombie fan and you're like, I watch every zombie movie ever, I think this one's going to be low on your list. It's just dull. It doesn't. And I wish I could say more. It looks so exciting. Army of the Dead. Dave Bautista's in it. Zack Snyder's new movie. No, it doesn't check any of those boxes. The setting is boring. The pacing is dull. The plot is lame, and the characters don't do anything exciting. The violence isn't particularly exciting either. I think Snyder needs to be reined in, man. I really do. That, or my hot take, give Snyder like, I don't know, give him 500 grand, give him half the budget of the OG Saw movie, and tell him you got to make something that's 90 minutes long and coherent. I just want to see what he cranks out. I think it'd be a good exercise because he keeps trying to do this big, epic, grand scale stuff, and it falls flat on its face every time. Before, he could blame it on Warner Brothers. He could say, "Oh, Warner Brothers is the reason this Batman movie doesn't work. Warner Brothers is the reason this Superman movie isn't that exciting. It's their fault." Now, this is him. He shot it. He wrote it. He directed it. It's bad. Okay. I want to know what's next. I got to know what's coming next from Snyder. That's it. That's it. Army of the Dead. Not worth your time.
Yeah,
what a disappointing zombie movie.
Yeah. And honestly, even if it had a lot of action, like you can't do that for 2.5 hours. You can't keep up that pace.
No,
like, there's no way this would have been that interesting, unless you did another. I was reminded of a lot of heist movies. I was also reminded of American Animals, which we reviewed it was last year or the year before, which is also a heist film involving college age kids trying to steal this book of paintings. And what's interesting about that is that it's not so much about the heist. It's all this stuff about like the disillusionment of American youth and this kind of nihilism that's inherent in all of them. So it's like, it's about this heist, but it's also about like this other thing. So that's maybe another way you could go. But there's a lot of ways you can do a heist film, and this doesn't do any of them well.
Yeah, it really doesn't. American Animals, by the way, I would way recommend that movie over this movie. And then American Animals isn't perfect, but it's much more interesting, and there's much less violence. So take it as it comes. Yeah, that's Army of the Dead, and that's our show this week. Andy, what are we watching next week?
Next week, we, for the first time in a very long time, we are doing 2 theatrical releases.
My God.
It's been over a year since we've done something like that because of the Pandora's box, and so this week we have 2 big releases. First is A Quiet Place Part 2, the sequel to the 2017, I think, big hit from John Krasinski, starring Emily Blunt and I can't remember his name now.
Cillian Murphy.
Thank you. And this is out in theaters only, starting this Friday. I'm excited to see that. Zack, not so much. And
the first one was okay, but it was gimmicky. The whole thing was jump scares the movie. I need more from Quiet Place 2, but I'm going to try to go in with my expectations low. Hopefully I won't be disappointed.
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was a good family drama wrapped in tension. And that the other big release is Cruella, the 101 Dalmatians prequel film starring Emma Stone, and that's going to be a hybrid release out in theaters and Disney Plus for a hefty $30 fee, and that's also out this Friday.
That'll be good because I can almost guarantee I watch Cruella at home because I have between my family, I've got 6 or 7 people on a wonderful Disney Plus family account, and they can all watch it. So for $30 for a bunch of people to watch it makes sense.
You should charge them.
Andy will probably, I know, right? Yeah, an extra $1 per or something. Andy will probably watch it in theaters, so I think we'll get a good divide on Cruella. It'll be fun. It's gonna be a fun show. And, if you enjoyed this show, of course, you can subscribe to Off Script on your favorite podcasting platform to hear more episodes every single Tuesday. You can follow us on Facebook, where we live stream the show every Tuesday as well, right around 5 o'clock CST. A little late this week, but it's okay. It worked out. We're on YouTube, where we post our episodes every single week as well. We're on Twitter. We're on Instagram. You can go follow us over there. The best way to get a hold of us, though, is send us an email at mail@offscriptfilmreview.com. And, of course, check out our website, offscriptfilmreview.com, for interviews, episodes, and additional stuff. Yeah.
Real quick, how long do you think Cruella is? I just looked it up. Take a guess.
Oh, Jesus. It better not be longer than 2 hours. For sure. It better be like 100 minutes. No, not even 100. It better be like 75 minutes.
It's 2 hours, 15 minutes.
Dude, there's no... I guarantee the pacing of that movie is a problem. I guarantee it. Okay. Anyway. Andy and I got a problem in movies that are longer than 2 hours, man. Like, it better be good if it's longer than 2 hours.
I mean, most movies don't have 2 hours of content. They have like 90 to 100 minutes and then filler. So.
How long is Quiet Place 2?
I don't
know. 97 minutes. There we go. All right. Now we're talking. Maybe I will like A Quiet Place 2 after all. Yeah. Movies are not, quality of a film is not based on how long it is. I got to remember that. Anyway, if you enjoyed the show, the biggest thing you can do to support us is just subscribe. Just subscribe to the show to get new episodes of Off Script straight to your phone every single week. Movies are expensive. Podcasts are cheap. Subscribe to Off Script to find out what movies are worth your time. You can also rate and review if you have the means. I mean, if you're bored, you can hit 5 stars down there and move on. You can write us a little blurb. We'll read it on the show. Maybe it's good stuff. And of course, if you want to know more, subscribe, follow us, all that good stuff. I think I mentioned all the socials. I think that's got it. I think that's it for Off Script Film Review this week. From all of us at Off Script, the home of Bold Cinema, I'm Zach Lewis.
And I'm Dr. Draper.
Thanks for watching.